Hi, I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week. We begin by feeding your craving. It's late January. Mardi Gras comes early this year. That means it's beginning to look a lot like crawfish season. 2020 was not exactly the best year for Louisiana crawfish farmers and fishermen, but at least one Acadia Parish farmer is hopeful 2021 will be better. This boat is moving forward on the first step to catching a Louisiana Lenten staple. Bait is going into each of these pyramid traps to catch crawfish on 1,100 acres in Acadia Parish, just outside of Crowley. There are a few crawfish in the traps already. They're small, but that does not worry rice and crawfish farmer Alan Lawson.
You know, year in, year out, January is usually really slow.
That's because it's still cold and these crustaceans are not coming out much to feed. But Lawson knows they're growing, especially when he finds a soft-shelled crawfish like this one that just molted. That means it's growing, and in a few weeks, it will be the perfect size for a crawfish boil.
It's really early to pass judgment on whether or not we're going to have a good season or a bad season. All indications are it's going to be, I would imagine, an average season. We have plenty of food left in the fields. We had some cold, but no real hard freezes.
However, Lawson did point out that it was a bit dry on the farm last fall. Normally, he would find female crawfish with their babies under their tails like these in September or October. Lawson took this picture in November, a bit later than normal.
It's really a very difficult crop to predict. It's not like a grain crop where you plant it and you can tell, okay, we planted it this day, we should harvest it within this window, and then, you know, we can kind of be pretty close on our yield predictors. Crawfish, man, I don't know. It's tough to figure out, and when you think you got it figured out, something else happens and you realize you don't have it figured out.
One thing Lawson thinks restaurants have figured out is how to serve you crawfish during the COVID-19 pandemic. He's hoping crawfish farmers will not see the drop in demand they saw last March when stay-at-home orders forced the closure of restaurants and discouraged family gatherings.
People still want them. They just had to figure out how to get them to them so they could, you know, socially distance and follow COVID guidelines.
As for prices, Lawson knows they're high now, but that will change with time.
Historically, March and April is your best time for crawfish. The size is there, the volume is there, so if true supply and demand system, the price comes down. They're readily available, they're really good, they've reached a good market size by then, so I would expect, you know, your prices will stay high January and February, but by the time we get to March, they'll be down where people really want them to be.
Lawson says you should not be discouraged at all the small crawfish he's catching right now. He says that's typical and that those little throwbacks will grow into the big daddy crawfish you consume during the peak of the season, which is in March. However, if you cannot wait until then to enjoy some crawfish, and hey, why would you? There are plenty of places where you can buy crawfish. However, you may have a tougher time finding live sacks unless you know a farmer. Tony's Seafood in Baton Rouge does have live crawfish for $5.99 a pound, and if you want them boiled, it's only $1 more, $6.99 a pound. The Crawfish Stop in Lake Charles does not have live crawfish for sale yet, but will sell you perfectly spiced boiled crawfish for $7.50 a pound. And up north in Shreveport at Red Barn Cajun Crawfish and Seafood Market, they'll have live crawfish for sale in about a week or so, but right now, only boiled crawfish is available for $8.25 a pound. These crawfish prices are brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, which reminds you to always eat Louisiana crawfish and to make sure, ask before you eat. Normally, cities and deserts are two separate things. However, in recent years, food deserts have been found most frequently inside cities, where citizens have to travel further to get access to fresh fruits and vegetables. As Twila's Neil Melanson shows us, one initiative in the city of Opelousas is hoping to change that.
Among all the beautiful leafy greens here on Southern University's Opelousas campus, it's hard to see we're in the middle of a food desert. Yet the city of Opelousas has people who have a tough time getting access to fresh fruits and vegetables. Tony Harris with Southern is trying to change that. He says getting people aware of the power of gardening is the first step.
The other thing is that we're going to do probably the science of learning everything from seeding, the soils, and then we'll get to plants. Kayla's gets into probably not only seeding, but then we have another person on board who's a nutritionist. We go start talking about the health benefits of everything that they grow.
One of Tony's partners in this is Hope for Opelousas, a faith-based charity in town that serves as an after-school program. Among all the colorful buildings here is a new neighbor, planter boxes that will soon be filled with activities for the youth.
First grade all the way through 12th grade now. Every year we've grown a little bit and added more kids. So we work with about 100 students and their families. We focus on educational support, mentoring. We want to also prepare our kids spiritually to be able to navigate the complexities of life that they face.
Back at Southern's Opelousas campus, Kayla Fontenot is working with Tony to get those planners ready for the kids. She knows they won't get all of them interested, but even if everyone has a better appreciation for ag, it's a win.
With this generation, technology, it hurts us largely with getting them to be interested in stuff like this, but that's what our goal is to get them to explore their interests, lead those healthy lifestyles, and be social, and a lot of that with giving back to the community and doing these programs, especially with the garden.
So as you can see behind me, these planter boxes are just getting completed, and by March should hopefully be full of crops that the kids here can tend to and learn the value of agriculture, and for the Hope for Opelousas organization, plant a seed for the next generation. Reporting from Opelousas, I'm Neil Melanson.
Yeah, Neil, I can't wait until I see those boxes filled with lush greenery. As Neil mentioned, Hope for Opelousas is a faith-based charity that runs on donations. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, you can visit our website at twilatv.org, and we'll show you how that new garden turns out in a follow-up story later on this year. The longtime head chef of Commander's Palace, Torrey McPhail, has packed up his knives and left the legendary New Orleans restaurant after 19 years. As you know, Chef Torrey has been a champion for Louisiana ingredients and a regular on Field to Feast. Before his move out west, Twila's Jennifer Finley caught up with him one last time for lunch at Ralph's on the Park.
Hi, my name is Torrey McPhail. I've been the executive chef at Commander's Palace for 19 years and now with the family for about 27. And just wrapping some things up here in New Orleans and heading to Bozeman, Montana. Without my years here in Louisiana, my life would absolutely not be the same. The people, the culture here in South Louisiana is just unparalleled in any other place that I've ever visited or lived. The opportunity to use amazing, great local ingredients and put it together in a style of food that embodies so much history and culture, you just don't get that everywhere, and it's yet another reason why I love this place. So it's bittersweet. I'm loving my Louisiana, but excited to do a little something different too. One of my best experiences down here was having all the opportunities with Field to Feast. Absolutely right. Tell you what, the guys down at home, I think those guys do an amazing job taking care of the product, and it is extremely impressive. You know, one of my favorite experiences with Field to Feast is Richard Fontenot and have amazing Louisiana rice in the Commander's Palace kitchen. Just the flavor, the story, the history of that, it's just absolutely unparalleled. With that, I'll tell you, you've got to go check out Amelia Kent. She is the sweetest, coolest, most down-to-earth person you're ever going to want to meet. But talk about amazing Louisiana beef, and you've got to get out there and see what's happening right here in South Louisiana. It is fantastic, and certainly has changed my views on helping to promote local Louisiana products. It's great. It makes the whole thing really come together in a very organic, natural kind of way. You know, another highlight was Matt Fry at Four Oaks Farm. The science and the farming behind Louisiana crawfish, but actually get on one of those little boats and do the crawfishing ourselves. That was a blast.
We got a ton of crawfish.
And then taking those back to the kitchen and doing our version of fried chicken and dumplings, but to do it actually with crawfish and then flambe it with a bunch of really good cognac and put all those beautiful comfort flavors kind of together. Man, that's another glorious day that I will never forget. Another great example of South Louisiana fresh seafood. Some crispy speckled trout, some jumbo lump crab, again, local Louisiana rice. And this is always a crowd favorite no matter where you're at in the country. Barbecued Louisiana wild white shrimp, a little bit of crisp Leidenheimer bread around the outside. It's so South Louisiana. I'm gonna miss you, Louisiana. I'm gonna miss you, but thank you for all the great years. You know, being the executive chef at Commander's Palace for 19 years has, again, changed the scope of my life. And having the opportunities to travel and meet as many cool people as I have is just legendary. I just feel like I've got a Hall of Fame type of career, and I don't take a day of it for granted. And I'm just thrilled to be able to sit down and enjoy this and start some fresh roots in the Pacific Northwest. That's where I grew up. I'm definitely going to miss Louisiana. I just love all the friends and family here, man. You cannot keep me away for very long. So I'll be back all the time. So thank you for having me. I love you all.
Tori, we wish you the best of luck and look forward to hearing from you again. Commander's Palace has named Meg Bickford as its new executive chef. Chef Meg is the first female to land the top spot at this Creole dining institution. We'll get to know her better in a Field to Feast very soon. The Jewel Beetles are not a cover band fronted by the woman who brought us the hit Who Will Save Your Soul in 1995. They're a group of insects known for bright prismatic colors. Those insects are also at the center of research by one LSU Ag Center assistant professor who wants to know why these bugs are so flamboyant.
Most insects are very tiny, and most insects are brown, black, and kind of drab in color. This particular group are the exception, where the vast majority have these brilliant colors, and that's why they're often known as the metallic wood-boring beetles or the jewel beetles. And that's the question is why are they colored this way? Hi, my name is Nathan Lord, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Entomology at LSU, and I am also the director of the Louisiana State Arthropod Museum with the LSU Ag Center. Specifically, I study the evolution of color and vision in insects. Visual cues are very important and common in the animal world for signaling, for camouflage, for recognition, and my research focuses on understanding this one particularly colorful group of beetles, the jewel beetles, and what is the coloration for? Is it as a warning defense? Are they communication channels for each other? Are they recognizing certain patterns in order to find mates? The first step is to understand how these pretty iridescent colors are produced, whether it's looking at the fine scale morphology on the surface of the beetle that causes light to scatter in certain ways, or whether it's principles like Bragg stacks that function kind of like a prism where they scatter light and produce these rainbow effects. We're trying to understand how these beetles achieve these colors based on their structures. One of the most destructive, economically important pests in the United States for the last 20 years or so has been this beetle called the emerald ash borer. And they were first introduced into Michigan in 2002, and since then the emerald ash borer has spread very rapidly across the country and has been decimating our native ash trees. They have gotten down all the way into Louisiana. So in order to understand better how to make more effective traps to collect or survey for economically destructive insect pests, we have to understand first what colors they may be attracted to. When I was a little kid, I liked insects and I liked creepy crawlies like a lot of young people do. I've got pictures of me at 3 years old with a butterfly net, and I always liked the beetles, I think because they were the hardiest, and when I would collect them, I didn't destroy them as easily as you would. You tear up a butterfly's wings and dragonfly wings. I could catch a lot of beetles because there were a lot around, and just the sheer diversity of forms and colors and armatures, whether it's horns on the head or spots or tufts of hair. The diversity of the physical appearances always sort of captivated me, and I was drawn to working on this very, very successful group of insects.
To learn more about the impressive research happening at the Lord Lab, head over to our website at twilatv.org. Still to come on Twila, the Louisiana sugarcane harvest is wrapping up, and we share some of the beautiful sights of this sweet crop. But first, podcasts, get your podcasts here. We have new ones coming right up. Stay with us.
My name's Cullen Kovac, and I'm a director for Louisiana Land Bank, but I'm also a farmer and a rancher. You go to get a loan or something, you always have to go to a building or a bank. I don't have time to drop a whole day and get that done. Louisiana Land Bank, they come out to your place and do business on your farm. They don't have a 9 to 5. I called Louisiana Land Bank, they came out in their pickup truck, and we signed the papers on the tailgate. If you're looking for land or a piece of equipment, call Louisiana Land Bank. They'll come to you.
It's a well-known fact that here in Louisiana, sugarcane is more than just a crop. It's a way of life. It creates more than 16,000 jobs across the state and an additional $3 billion boost to our state's economy. And Louisiana's cane families always give back to the communities where we live, work, and play. Louisiana sugarcane, making life sweeter, naturally.
Sugarcane, sweet sugarcane.
I'm a farmer.
I am a farm wife.
I am a cowboy.
I am a grass farmer.
I'm a businesswoman.
I'm a conservationist.
I am an advocate.
I am a voice for Louisiana farmers.
I'm always learning.
I'm a husband.
I'm a mom.
I am a dad.
I'm a granddad.
I am a consumer.
I grow the food that feeds your family, and I'm proud of it. I am Farm Bureau.
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 We are Farm Bureau.
How much thought goes into the grass in a pasture? If you ask a rancher, they'd say a ton. As this clip from the Louisiana Grazing Lands Coalition initiative shows us, the animals that graze on those well-planned pastures will benefit from fields of native prairie grasses.
So when we're talking about prairie grasses, we're referring to the apex species of grassland ecosystem, at least for our continent, our place in the world. Of these species, you're dealing with like switchgrass, big blue stem, little blue stem, gamma grass, Indian grass. Those are apex grass species, and they only come in when there's a really stable and highly succeeded grassland composition. If you look at the Great Plains and other areas of the world that support large grazers, such as bison here, different animals, different parts of the world. Those large grazing animals, and we've replaced bison with cattle here, but they are now our apex grazer, you might say. And that, in the wild, in natural systems, those grazers utilize those apex prairie species. So I think by growing these grasses here, we're really putting the animal where it fits, or at least matching up the proper grass to a proper animal. And I think that's just where they want to, that's their niche in the environment. That's where they want to be. And so as a result, I think one benefits the other. It's known that grasslands co-evolved with grazers, but putting the cattle, a large grazer, on these large perennial grasses with pulses just suits the model of nature's model. It's how it happened in the wild. And so those cattle really, once they learn how to use that prairie and the higher protein content of these grasses and stuff just suits their lifestyle and helps drive their reproductive systems and whatnot.
The Louisiana Grazing Lands Coalition initiative is preparing for its annual farm tour. Only this year, just like many events, it's going to be virtual, but it will be free. You still need to register to follow along. You can find all the information you need on our website at twilatv.org. We've talked to you before about podcasts, but we must confess, we kind of let them fall by the wayside through much of last year. Thank you, pandemic. One of the podcasts we did keep going through 2020 was the Grassroots Government Podcast. This is where we break down the latest happenings at the state capitol as well as in Washington, D.C. And it's pretty clear that there has been a lot happening at the nation's capital over the past few months. So this week, we caught up with the Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation's National Affairs Coordinator to discuss some of the changes in D.C. and how they may affect Louisiana farmers. We also discuss issues like the upcoming election to fill the District 5 seat and the importance of that seat for agriculture across the entire state. We've also picked back up on our Twila After Show podcast. It's one of my favorite things to do. This is where we break down some of the stories that we feature in the show and give some behind-the-scenes stories that just don't make it here in the show usually, and sometimes maybe they're just not made for TV. Another podcast we put on the back burner was the Louisiana Farm Life podcast. That's where we sit down and visit with a farmer about the person they are away from the tractors or crawfish boats. We're excited to say that break from these stories has come to an end. Twila's Carl Wiggers traveled this week to visit with a farmer he knows pretty darn well. You can find each of these podcasts by going to twilatv.org and be sure to subscribe and share them with a friend. As we head off to break, enjoy this sneak peek of the latest episode of Louisiana Farm Life with Carl's dad, Scott Wiggers.
I guess what I'm getting at is, what is it about that lifestyle, the farming lifestyle, just life on a farm that makes you want to raise your family around? What made you want to raise us on the farm? By the way, I am so glad you did. I loved it. It's a great way to grow up.
To me, it was just a great place to grow up. You just you do a lot of things. The things that we did, y'all didn't get to do as much as we did.
It wasn't in my backyard.
It wasn't in your backyard, so you couldn't ride a horse or a bicycle to the back there like I could. And my dad growing up, he was riding horses all back there and getting on the river and spending the whole day on the river, 2 days on the river, and he'd come back in. When he came back in, nobody worried about him. But there's still something special about being raised in the country, on the farm, around the entire family group, grandparents, aunts, uncles, all that stuff. It has its own challenges, but the good outweighs the bad, and it's just a great place, and you learn the value of work, and y'all were able to be with me a lot when I worked. A lot of people go to work and they don't see their kids till they come home from work, and I took y'all a lot. Y'all were with me all summer long.
Yeah, I was about
2
to
or
say,
3 of y'all were with me.
As soon as school let out, I quote unquote again went to work with Dad on the farm, and I remember I was so excited when you started paying me $5 an hour.
Paid you too much.
Way too much. I definitely was overpaid to sweep the shop.
Louisiana oysters, salty, sweet, and delicious. But have you ever thought about what happens to all those oyster shells? Most of them end up in trash cans and landfills. The Coalition to Restore Coastal Louisiana is changing this with its oyster shell recycling program, and you can help by visiting these participating restaurants. It's a simple and delicious way to restore our coast. The shells will then be used to sustain and rebuild oyster reefs. Remember, once you shuck them, don't just chuck them.
Landowners are minding the Louisiana forest for our grandchildren. A place for wildlife, recreation, lumber for homes. It's the right thing to do. Forestry, covering half our state, all of our hearts.
Yo, Scott.
Hey.
I'm heading out, man. You want to ride?
No, I got my car, but I actually really need to go to the bathroom.
Oh, you know what? I was just in there. The line is like 10 people long.
I think I'll just...
Dude, are you okay?
You wouldn't believe what I was just thinking. I am definitely buzzed.
Yeah.
I think I will take this, and I will take that ride home.
Smart man.
Did you see how that dog was looking at me?
For the first time, a Louisiana sugarcane grower is on the USDA Agricultural Trade Advisory Committee for sugar. Eddie Lewis III of Youngsville has been named to the prestigious committee that directly advises the Secretary of Agriculture. The committee is primarily composed of executives in the sugar industry, particularly end users like Hershey. Lewis says he intends to be a voice for sugarcane farmers, especially those from Louisiana.
Keeping farming sugarcane fair for Louisiana sugarcane farmers is very, very critical. So I have a direct hand in sugar trade policy, which is very, very huge. I have access to the Secretary of Agriculture at certain times throughout the year when we visit DC for our meetings. So if Louisiana farmers need a voice, I have that voice for them already set up.
In addition to Lewis, the Louisiana-based American Sugarcane League has a representative on that committee as well. Speaking of sugarcane, Louisiana sugarcane farmers are wrapping up their long harvest. So to boost you as we're leaving, we're going to have some sweet sights and sounds from South Louisiana sugar country. We hope you enjoy it. We'll see you again next week.